that was a former colleague of mine, but she has had an amazing journey. Laura Hale is our special guest today. Laura is not only a holistic nutrition coach, but she also does wellness coaching and is also a Reiki master. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and her journey, and also the company that she has started, and her journey starting that. So good morning, Laura. We're so excited to have you.
Good morning, ladies. Thank you for having me today.
It's
So
wonderful
Laura,
to see you.
yeah, it's wonderful to have you. Laura, can you please just introduce yourself? I know I just gave a little snippet, but would love for you to introduce yourself and give us a little bit of your, health and wellness journey.
Absolutely. So I am a wife and mother of two. I have a 10-year-old little girl and a 5-year-old little boy who you might hear. They're outside playing right now. I live on a small farm just outside the Kansas City, Missouri area. And kind of my journey, I was in the corporate space for 28 years and just left that last summer. And I was in the healthcare IT company. And while I was there, we started our family, and I was working really hard trying to climb that ladder. And I realized as we adopted our little girl that I wasn't really very healthy from the inside out. I went through phases of being extremely thin to average weight, but really the health wasn't there. And when I looked at my daughter, I was like, I'm an older mom and I need to be healthy so I can be around for her. And then we adopted our son, and it just really solidified that. So that kind of started me on my health journey. And I feel like I woke up a little bit during that, because I was kind of on that hamster wheel, right? Get up, go to work, come home, make dinner, work, and do it again. Mm-hmm. And there was more to that. And for me to get healthy so I could be around a long time for them, I went on a personal journey to do that, and not tie it to my weight, but tie it to how I felt, what my labs were coming back like, and my activity level with my kids. And so that really started me on this journey. And through that, I've learned a lot of different things. And I found along the way that I wanted to be able to help other people do the same thing and share what I've been learning with them. And so that's how I started my wellness business, is I wanted to be able to share that with other moms and dads. But really that inside out approach, and not this yo-yo or just going through the cycles.
Yeah.
And Laura, do you think that weight has been a focus for you rather than health? I mean, it's something that Besame and I talk about a lot, that we want people to be healthy inside and out, mentally and physically. But what you said about focusing on your health and not your weight was really fascinating. Can you share a little bit more about what do we do from a health perspective or a society perspective that made weight such a focus?
It absolutely is a focus of mine, because when I was younger, we didn't talk about health. The conversation in my family really was, don't be overweight. And it actually wasn't even that kind. It was, don't be fat, right? Because my family has a history on my mom's side of being overweight and having a lot of problems with that. And my mom's wish was that we wouldn't have that same problem. And she tied it all to the weight. And so from a very young age, that's what I was infatuated with, is how much do I weigh? And to me, not knowing anything about health, it was really, you eat less, you weigh less. And everything had to be tied to that weight and to the scale, and not about health. And I mean, honestly, it was not until in my 40s that I really came to grips with that, around healthy from the inside out. And how do I measure that? Not by the scale, but how I feel in my own skin. And Daphne, is very much what you said. I've been focusing on, 3 parts: the mind, body, and spirit. And if your mindset's not right, or you don't feel good physically, and your energy level isn't there, then you're going to have issues. So I've been working on the the whole person. That's where my business came from with the name, because it is around the whole person. But I think in that generation, and I hope it's changing, and I think we doing things like this can change it, but really I think they thought weight equaled health.
Mhm.
And so we just talked about the weight, but we really should talk about the outcome, which is to be healthy, and healthy from the inside out. I could be very thin, but not be healthy. And I actually found out in 2006 when our company held a health fair, I had high cholesterol. And I had no idea I had high cholesterol, because doctors would look at me and say, "Oh, you're thin, you look good, you're fine."
Yeah.
And I was like, I have high cholesterol? And I didn't eat fried food, I didn't eat red meat. And they're like, well, it must be genetic, but my parents don't have high cholesterol. So it could have been my grandmother or something. But I was shocked. And that was part of it as well. It's like, oh, wait a minute, that's not healthy. And I knew as I started getting older and learning about health, I started to learn what that could affect for me long term. And I've managed that all through diet and exercise, not medication. But that's really where I want to be, is that inside out feeling, mentally and physically.
It's actually one thing that we stress on. So you mentioned we just posted your website. So for those of you who want to follow Laura, it's Laura M. Hale. If you just Google Laura Hale, it's the actress. So lauramhale.com, and check out some of the stuff that she has on that site. It's actually really great content. But also you have social media and your group called Living Holistically, which I follow on Facebook and I actually love. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? What you emphasize, some of the intention, the goals, the purpose, because and then I'll share what I gleaned from it, because I find it very informative and really exciting too.
Thank you. Yes, it's Living Holistically, and holistically I spelled
with a W.
With a W, and I do know I spelled it wrong. I did that on purpose, because it is that whole you. So what I'm trying to do in there is create a community where people can come together and support each other on their health journey. And I've approached it from kind of 5 days a week. I give every Monday, I give a challenge. It's a small challenge. It could be drink water, increasing your steps. This week was, or eating red foods. So I try to give an easy challenge that as you do those, you're going to build habits over time as you do them each week. I highlight a food of the week and tell you the nutritional value of it, why it's good for you and what you can do with it, with a recipe on Wednesdays, and then a tip to help you with the challenge on Thursday, and then something fun on Friday. So I'm really trying to take that as a free way that people can approach their health in small steps that can build up over time, just by applying those challenges and trying out some of the different recipes.
So you mentioned recipes. Do you have a favorite?
It's funny. I have quite a few favorites, but I make my own spaghetti sauce, and I've done it for years. Yeah, my mom was Italian, so we grew up doing that. And my friends think this is funny, but I can my own spaghetti sauce, so I learned how to can with my mom. But I've taken that into, you make big batches of food and then you can freeze it or can it and use it later. So, excuse me, that is one of my favorites. But for our family, a big favorite is actually tacos. So we use ground turkey, and, it's either chickens from our farm or we buy, antibiotic-free, hormone-free ground turkey. And then I cook that up and I use my own mix of spices. But to have that, since having two little kids that can be somewhat picky at times, it's really easy to make them a good meal. We can either do taco salads, soft tacos, everybody has kind of their favorite way to do it. But it works for me and my husband to have like a burrito bowl or taco salad, and then they can have a soft or a crunchy if they want it. And the other part that goes with that works very well for us is I do what I call a salad bar. So I prep all my ingredients and then I keep it in the fridge. Excuse me.
That's okay. No, I think tacos are amazing. My kids absolutely love tacos. We've made, they go back and forth, the crunchy and soft also, but the burrito bowls are where it's at, I have to say. Love burrito bowls. So do you have back to your sauce, Laura? Is that a family secret recipe? Or are you willing to share it with us or on your website where we could point people to it?
I don't have it published. It's pretty simple. I'm kind of an interesting cook because I kind of do everything by taste. But it's either like canned tomato sauce or you make your own. And then it's usually equal parts of water and then Italian seasonings, so basil, oregano, some thyme and marjoram. But I just buy the pre-made seasoning and then garlic and a little salt.
Nice. Yeah, I know it could go multiple ways. Some people use like plum tomatoes, some people use, crushed and things like that. So that's interesting.
I do use Roma tomatoes. I grow them and they have less seeds in them. So they make a better, easier sauce. You don't have so much seeds to pull out.
Right. And so we were just talking, you mentioned your farm, and what was it? Was it 2014 that you and your husband purchased a farm? And talk to us a little bit about that, if you can.
Yeah, we bought it in 2005, but fighting these allergies. Hold on.
It's okay. And Besame, it's interesting that Laura mentioned the fact that, we've always emphasized know your numbers. And despite knowing that her company was very focused on health, not knowing that she had high cholesterol was interesting. So again, just to remind everyone listening or watching today that you can't manage what isn't measured. And so whether it's your blood pressure, your cholesterol, you need to know your numbers and you need to be in charge of your health.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with
That's a great point. You were asking me about the farm and hold on.
That's okay.
That's okay. I recall when Laura and I were working, she had purchased that farm. And so she was telling me about the animals and the kids that love it. So let's talk back a little bit more about the numbers, Daphne, because I feel like some people just kind of overlook it. It's either part of your well check. And, I know a lot of people with COVID may not have been able to get to the doctor. So have you seen an uptick in, patients and people, now taking a look at the numbers? I'm curious to see what the overall, average has turned into, whether or not it's improved. I feel like some people have gotten a lot healthier because of the pandemic, and some people have also gotten a lot less healthier from the pandemic.
Well, it's fascinating because there was a big push early on, I'd say in 2020, when people were avoiding seeking primary care. There was a definite concern that normal preventative health services weren't occurring. And I would say that we continued to find that through 2021, where there was some concern about going into the healthcare system. And so, most of us who are relatively healthy, or if you just need a wellness exam, you can put it off another year, another 6 months. But if you start to look at some of the data that are coming out, whether it's from the healthcare companies or other large organizations, what they're finding is that there are, coming out of 2021, I won't say coming out of the pandemic, there seem to be more Americans with high blood pressure, whether it's because we're actually measuring it now or it's actually because of a change in lifestyle is interesting. And then, as we'll talk more about in our next podcast, there's also a significant amount of increased depression, anxiety, stress-related disorders. So I have a feeling that we may have more adverse health outcomes coming out of COVID, and that there's an opportunity to course correct and to refocus on that need to prevent disease.
I'm seeing that as well, Daphne, and I do apologize. I've been outside.
Don't worry.
So allergies are hitting me this week in Kansas City. We have some beautiful weather. So talking about the farm, we bought it in 2005 as like a weekend retreat. And then we liked coming here so much that we ended up building our house and moving here.
Yeah.
It's small, it's 17 acres, but it was land
Small.
that,
That's small.
Small.
yeah, for people that have a little yard, I guess it's pretty big, but
Yeah.
we're pretty blessed here because it's a piece of property that was forgotten for 38 years. The Corps of Engineers came in and bought a bunch of land to build a lake, and our property is surrounded by that Corps of Engineer land. Well, they thought they bought the land. The county did an audit and figured out that they didn't buy this little bitty square, and that's our farm. So it was never sprayed before because it had cattle on it. And then when it was abandoned, then it wasn't touched at all. So we have very kind of pristine dirt to use for our garden.
Yeah.
And I've always loved gardening. But when we got this place, then we've decided to turn that also into a business. And we started with chickens, which is what Besame would hear about a lot.
Yeah.
And with those, we've been selling eggs. But now that I can devote more time into my garden, we will be moving into selling produce as well this year. And I've got a local co-op. It's called Farmers 169 that I can put our goods at and sell them through there in Smithville.
Wonderful.
So
That's excellent.
And the other thing that's wonderful is that your children have a sense of where their food comes from, which I think a lot of kids don't. It comes from the grocery store, but they can see from seedling to your salad bar where their foods are coming from.
Yeah, and they help us in the garden, but they do learn a lot about it, especially with the chickens, because we've hatched our own eggs. Mm-hmm. And so they've got to see that happen, and the chickens grow up. And at some point, chickens stop laying eggs. And so we don't want 100 pets. And it is nice to know where your food came from. And we thank our food, thank you for giving us the eggs for so long, and thank you for nourishing us and giving us this meat to eat when we do have it. So they are learning a lot through that. And they learn a lot of other things too from the wildlife that we have around us and kind of the cycle of life. But when you're speaking about the pandemic and with health during that time, I feel we were very blessed because our kids could go outside and play. Yeah. Because it's all fenced in, and we built them like a play area and everything. So having each other and then being able to get outside, they could get fresh air and play, and they weren't as affected. So that was different for them. They didn't really understand how other people were affected by having to be indoors so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do they help you garden?
They help me. So they want to help. My daughter's a little bit more helpful now that she's older. I'll give them things grow in from the outside. It's very wild woods around us. So I'll give them clippers, and they'll go clip that stuff off the fence. They do like to help me plant when they can. The 5-year-old, he really likes to dig. So he said he's going to dig all my holes for me this year. But we'll see.
I think I read in a study that there's something about putting your hands in the dirt.
Yes.
That is it's a stress reducer. And is also very good for all ages. So children, adults, to do that. And it's something about just that connection with, and I know it sounds silly, but, putting your hands in the dirt just makes a really big impact. And so that's what I was asking if they did, because I think that it's just, we have our kids do our little mini garden. Certainly, it's definitely not 17 acres worthy, but it's a little step. They a few boxes, and they help dig, and it's just, they want to do more, and then they want to go to the creek and they want to do different things. And I think that that's the key for everybody, to stay active, to stay connected with nature, just to, instead of being behind the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it makes them more interested in the food too when they grow it.
Yeah.
So they're more likely to try it,
right,
if they helped create it.
Right.
And Laura, if you want to share your famous spaghetti sauce, your tomato sauce, we're happy to put on our website. And once you're at the point where you're heading to the farmer's market to sell your vegetables, let us know. We're big advocates of having people put more plants on their plate and knowing that knowing where your food is coming from, we definitely would want to encourage those in the Kansas City area to go seek out your produce if it's available.
Great. Thank you. I will definitely take you up on that. And yeah, that's one thing I work with my clients on is like, 3/4 of your plate, half to 3/4. If you can put the plants on there and eat them first, you're gonna get further along in your health journey. So.
And Laura, one thing I wanted to ask you before we let you go is that I saw on your website that you are a Reiki master. And I don't know if a lot of people who are watching or listening today know what Reiki is. Could you share a little bit about your practice and what the benefits of Reiki are in terms of overall health and wellness?
Absolutely. Yes. I was introduced to Reiki it's been about 3 or 4 years ago. And it's an old Japanese healing modality. It's energy healing. And if you think about everything's made up of energy, it kind of goes back to the dirt too, like putting your hands in the dirt, you're getting that energy from the earth. And Reiki, they'll call it like healing hands, but it's kind of like a massage, but I don't actually touch you. So people are like, it looks like massage. I'm like, well, you lay on the table, but you have your clothes on. I put blankets on you and you relax, close your eyes. And the hands are right above the body, but it's really, you have what you need inside you. And I'm more of the guide than I'm not the healer. You are the healer for yourself. And with Reiki, it helps direct the energy that you already have inside your own body. And the benefits that you can get from it are reduced stress. It can help with anxiety, relaxation, muscle tension. And there's some scientific studies around the benefits of it. And my clients usually say it feels like a massage for their soul. It's kind of hard to explain, but once you have a session, you're like, that now I get it, but it's hard to explain it back to someone. Mm-hmm. But I think the first benefits most people get are very relaxed and that reducing their stress and tension. And it's non-invasive, obviously. And it's very easy to do like over a lunch hour or, after work, because you can just come in. And what we do in my practice is I chat with a person about what's their intention, how are things going with them, what are areas they're working on or they need help in. And then we go back into my practice area. And then, like I said, you just lay on the table and close your eyes. And then I do the rest. If anything comes to mind while I'm doing that, I will let people know. But they'll usually feel not just relaxed, but they'll feel sometimes warmth in a certain area or tingling. But it's their own energy inside their body going to where they need it. And it sounds a little crazy, but it is, I don't know, it's really helped me. So I got into it to help myself. It was one of those modalities. So you can do Reiki level 1 is you can do Reiki on yourself and you learn how to do that. And you're really somewhat like a meditation and focusing, directing your own energy to different parts of your body and talking through what you want to heal. And even like digestive system, your heart, your lungs, your knees, whatever area it is. And then Reiki 2, level 2 is to learn how to do that practice on others and help other people with it. And then Reiki 3 is the master level, which is that I can teach Reiki to others. And so I went through all 3 and I still use it on myself today. And I really find it beneficial. And my children even ask for Reiki sessions. And my 5-year-old, he'll ask for them. And I thought he was just wanting to lay on the table and play. But the other day I said, hey, do you want a Reiki session? He goes, no, I'm good. I'm pretty relaxed today, Mom. I don't think I need one.
Interesting.
And it is. And when he gets them, he's, very active and energetic. And so it does help him calm down and focus. But one day he told me, he's like, looked at me real crazy. He's like, that feels really warm. So like, move away from me. So, I moved down to a different part, but he has digestive issues. So I do a lot of work with him in that space. And, it's just his energy moving around. But yeah, he has times he asks for it. And then other times he's like, no, I'm good.
That's amazing.
It is.
And my
And
daughter
definitely,
uses it for herself because, at night, sometimes she has difficulty with sleeping. And so I've given her a few techniques that she can do when she's in bed to calm her nerves if she's seen something scary on a show, or, kids will tell scary stories and she really doesn't care for that. And so I've given her some ways to use that herself. And she's so cute because she's come up to me when I've had like a cramp in my foot or my leg, and she'll put her hands on me and really directing her love and energy towards me. And it's very sweet, but it's very effective.
Yeah, that is so sweet. And Daphne, you had experience with Reiki as well. Is that right?
Well, it's funny because the first time I heard about it was when I was at Cleveland Clinic, and that's 15 years ago. And one of the advanced practice practitioners at the clinic, we had the ability to order some different wellness interventions. And one of the advanced practice practitioners offered to do a Reiki session for me. So yeah, it's been a while, but it's fascinating that your kiddos can actually articulate what it does for them.
Yeah,
They,
it is.
I
And
read.
it is used a lot in cancer patients to help with that relaxing and nausea from the meds and things like that. It goes in conjunction. For me, I believe that Eastern medicine we can learn a lot from, and I think there's value in Eastern medicine and value in Western medicine. If I break my arm, I am definitely going to the doctor, to get that. But I think, you talked about the depression and anxiety coming out of COVID. These types of modalities can help a lot with that without necessarily having to go straight to the medications. But then there are times that we need our medications as well. So I think it's a balance between the two.
I think we're all made out of energy. There's energy in and out of us. That's just how we are. So that's really interesting. And I will have to definitely take a look into that. The other thing I know we mentioned is mindset, just getting our mind right. So one of the things in Perfectly Planted is we love to, plant seeds of positivity. And it really starts with a grateful mind and heart. And so, Daphne and I have started and have encouraged others to start just waking up at initial sunrise to, really think about what are a few things that you're grateful for in the day. And so we would love to learn, when you woke up today, what are some three things you were grateful for today?
I think that's great. I definitely agree. I think being in a state of gratitude will help when you have to face things that are somewhat difficult or harder in your day. If you remember the things that you're grateful for, that's great practice to have. For me today, number one, I am very grateful for my health. Having this little allergy bout has reminded me that it is so important, and that I am so thankful for having my health and that it is just allergies. To my health, I'm very thankful for my family. Seeing my kids play outside the last few days is really, it kind of fuels my heart to see them do that. And then the third thing that I'm very thankful for is freedom. With everything that's going on around the world right now, I'm grateful that I can get up and do a podcast and take my daughter to dance and do those things that we want to do as a family. So I'm very grateful for that.
Those are great.
And Laura, how do you encourage when you're working with a client, how do you encourage them to empower themselves, whether it's to use their own energy to heal, or whether it's to take on some of the things you just said in terms of gratefulness?
That's a good question. There's one of the big things I start with is really that negative self-talk, and for them to get aware of that. So I think awareness is a huge key to getting to your next steps. So we talk about there's a monkey mind that you have, that when you hear those little negative talks like, oh, you can't do that, or, you're not good enough or you shouldn't go down that path or whatever it is. Like the first step is to actually hear yourself saying it. And kind of tying back to the weight, I was a super negative talker to myself about my own weight and how I looked. And when we were adopting our daughter, it hit me like I would never want her to say those things that I heard in my mind to herself. And so I say that with my clients, most of them are parents, and I'm like, would you want your daughter to say that to themselves? And they're like, oh no. I'm like, well, then you shouldn't say that to yourself either. But getting that awareness and also that word, I can't do that. And I just ask them to change it to say, I don't want to do that. Like, oh, I just can't work out today. I don't have time. I said, change that to say, I don't want to work out today. It's not important to me. And they're like, well, it is. I'm like, then you have the time, right? Or I can't eat healthy because of whatever. I don't, it's not important to me to eat healthy. And they're like, oh, but it is. I'm like, okay, so we're changing that negative self-talk. And so getting aware of it and then working on ways to change it. And maybe there are some things that aren't that important to you, and that's okay. So let's not focus on those. Let's go focus on the ones that are. Yeah. And then I do ask people to, work on, if they can, a gratitude, either a gratitude journal or just like you guys are doing 3 things in the morning. My kids do it at night. What are they grateful for that day? To, again, bring that awareness. So I think awareness is key. We can't work on what we don't know. Just like you said, Daphne, about your health. You have to measure things. And I think mentally we have to measure where our mindset is at. And hearing that negative self-talk, then you can address it and turn those things around, and you'll start having a more positive interaction with yourself and with others.
100% agree.
Yeah, I love that. Laura, thank you so much for joining us today. But speaking on behalf of Daphne, we loved having you. We mentioned your website. We posted it on The Real. What are other ways our listeners and viewers can get in touch with you? We mentioned living holistically. What's the best way to tag on to checking out your stuff?
Those are 2 great ways. The other area or place that I am at is I am on Instagram as Laura M. Hale as well. And as you said, Besame, if you don't use the M, I am not a vampire actress. And so I had to use my middle initial for everything, but I am over on Instagram as well. But I hope some people come out and join the community, and so we can all collectively work together on moving ourselves forward towards our health goals.
And just so everybody knows, I do follow Laura. It's on Facebook as Living Holistically with a W. So definitely go check that out.
And we'll put that along with your Instagram in the show notes with the M.
Thank you.
Laura, I want to echo, thank you so much. And thank you for everyone who was listening and watching today. We're so happy that you were able to join us. We hope you'll spend some time re-listening to this and hearing some of the wise words that Laura shared with us today. And join us for our next podcast, where we'll be talking a little bit about stress, which I think is something that we're all trying to manage. And we'll pick Laura's brain for some tips and tricks that we can share with you. Thanks, everyone. Be well, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.